I was looking through my comments this week, and one comment was asking if they were furloughed, should they do a cash out refinance? It changes your mortgage to whatever the current interest rate is. So for a lot of people who have rates lower than 4%, this could be a possibility of you taking your 4% mortgage rate and it being a 6% or 6.5% mortgage rate. I don't advise anyone to do this, but it made me think I need to make a video because we have so many people furloughed. Unemployment is up, but I don't want you to panic. If you're a homeowner, I don't want you to panic. Even if you're not a homeowner, but you want to be a homeowner in the future, the key is right now, don't panic. Because if you're furloughed and you're furloughed for a long time, and you do a cash out refinance, you're going to be, you don't want to be just paying your debt from the debt that you borrowed, if that makes sense. You want to think of other ways that you can get through this furlough period. By law, at least this is the current law, you're going to be back paid what you're missing, the missing income during your furlough. So let's talk about some things that you should be doing while you're furloughed. Or even, I think all of us need to be aware of this. If we lose our employment, we get furloughed, we lose our income, some of the things that we need to make sure we're doing first. So number one is assess your cash and savings. Now, while it's a great thing if you have 3 to 6 months of expenses, and why people say 3 to 6 months of expenses is because that's typically, if you lose your job, it typically takes you 3 to 6 months to find new employment. So that's where that 3 to 6 months comes in. If you can't do 6, try to do 3. You should be building toward this. If you are currently employed, you should be building toward a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. If you're self-employed, I like it to be a 12-month emergency fund, because if your business is not doing well, if you get ill, if you have to stop, if you are integral of your business, like if you're not there, your business doesn't run, then you need to have even more savings. So I advise you to do 12 months. But the more stable your employment is, the fewer months you can do. But the more that you have income instability from month to month, then maybe if you're a contract worker or something like that, your goal should be to try to push toward 12. And it does not have to be your entire income. So your entire, what you spend every month. Because what we spend every month when we're employed may be much higher than what we would spend if we're unemployed. For example, you don't need any of those subscriptions that you pay for every month. You're not going to be door dashing every month or, doing some of those extra things. You can turn those things off if you're in a period of unemployment. So when I am telling you to save 3 to 6 months or 12 months, like what are the bare minimum? You need food, you need to pay for your shelter, you need to pay for your gas in your car, your utilities, your basic things. How much does that cost you per month? And it may not cost what you're regularly spending on yourself each month. And that's how you can, begin to save. If you're normally spending $5,000 a month, but just to make it every month and to be fed and housed and clothed and all of that, it costs $3,000 a month. Then that $2,000 that you're spending on discretionary things, then that's the 2,000 that you start saving. You start living like you're unemployed, live on the bare minimum, start saving that difference until you have that 3 to 6 months of expenses. That's how you'll start to build it. Okay. And so you assess where you are. How much cash do you have? How long will that last you during this unemployment time or this furlough time? And then do a new budget, right? Start turning off some things. You may not, if you're paying for cable, guess what? You don't need cable anymore. If you're paying for Netflix, whatever you're paying for, that's entertainment, discretionary, that's not needed. Take those things out of your budget as soon as possible. You always can add them back once things get stable, but you need to remove those things that you're spending. Eating out, that's out the budget. You can look at your last month's bank statement. Where are you spending money? Stop spending money in those areas. Now you're going to the grocery store. You're not going to concerts. You're not doing any of those things that you normally do. So your actual budget, and I've done this before back when the pandemic just started, and I was talking about how our budget is like bare bones budget is like $3,500 a month. And it's probably less than that if we were to turn off some things, but it's, very low. We may spend more than that per month, but if I just had to pay all of our basic bills for the house, and to maintain, again, food, shelter, all of the needs, then it's very low. So you need to get to that bare bones budget. If you put in budget, if you're searching on my channel and you put in budget, you'll be able to find, because I talked about our bare bones budget at that time. It was things like, we weren't driving one of the cars. And during the pandemic, they did, like, some of the car insurance companies did reduce your rates, or, had things, if you're not driving, we weren't driving one of the cars. We turn off that car insurance until, you're back moving and driving and those sorts of things. So those are some of the drastic things, not even drastic, but just get your needs and look at every expense and say, do I really need these things while I'm furloughed, while I'm laid off? And you probably don't. In the same way, if you're employed right now and you say, how can I save? How can I save this 3 to 6 months of expenses? You're going to have to look through that same budget and say, what are my necessities? Let me do that for a few months until I can get that 3 to 6 months of savings. All right, so you're going to assess what that is. You're going to cut some things off. You're going to, number two, call all of your creditors. Call your creditors, call your mortgage company, your rent, your landlord, call your student loans, your credit cards. Have a conversation with all of them, because you don't want, if there's a bill that you cannot pay, or you're going to be paying it late, that's going to be a major hit to your credit score. A 30-day late, a 60-day late can take your 700 or so credit score to a 600 and something very, very easily. You can lose almost 100 points paying your bills late. So that's going to be a major hit. So you want to get in front of that as much as possible and start calling your creditors, call your mortgage company. I'm on furlough. Everybody knows right now it's a government shutdown. People are aware of it. A lot of companies are putting in things, to protect government workers right now. So find out what is in place with your mortgage company, with your credit card company, with your leasing office, with student loans, whatever it is. You need to make sure for everybody that you have to pay, utilities, anything that you have to pay, you want to see what's in place. Try to get as many things in writing as possible. Of course, you want to still try to pay things on time, but if they're allowing you to do any kind of payment plan, workaround, skip a month, something, then you need to be aware of it by company. And then number three, research unemployment options in your state. I was looking for my state. I'm in Georgia, and they had a whole thing about federal government shutdown, information for federal employees, and how they could apply for unemployment even though they're still furloughed. So these options may be options in your state. Those of you that are still employed, then you need to know, okay, how does unemployment work if I'm to lose my employment? So that's something you need to look into. And then you want to update your resume. So if you're furloughed and you're not a critical worker, then you're not working. Those of you that are critical workers, you're still working, and you're not getting paid. So that's even worse. Like, you're working and not getting paid for it. But for those of you that have some extra time in this furlough period, then update your resume, update your LinkedIn page. You can find ways to do this. You can go to YouTube, and people find videos how to, optimize your LinkedIn, how to update your resume, to update it for these modern times that we live in. You want to make sure, because you may not want to be in this situation again. Every few months or so, it seems like it could be a government shutdown, especially if you're a government worker. We know a lot of people got laid off with this administration. There may be a furlough in the future if they can't come to a budget resolution. So you want to make sure that you are not stuck. You have options, maybe in the private sector. So you want to look and say, okay, and I know government jobs are typically more secure, but see what options, especially if you haven't looked in a long time, I want you to see what options there are for you. Are there options in public sector? What are my skills? Do I need to, get some more skills? Do I need to take, I don't want you to go back to college necessarily because that might be an additional expense, but can you take a course, like a low, get a certificate or take some kind of training to up your skills so you're more marketable in different areas. So spend some of that time that you have, making sure that you're more valuable in the workplace. And then number 5, you have to start thinking about extra income. How can I, based on my current skills and my abilities, how can I be making more money? How can I start a business? Even if it's not a business that you're going to quit your job and start this business, but you don't want to be 100% dependent on an employer. And there are so many, the fact that we have technology and AI, there are so many different ways to make money now. So again, that's nothing but another YouTube search or a chat GPT search. These are the skills I have. What kind of businesses could I be doing? Or how can I make money on the side? Or how can I make money? I need to make 1,000. You can be very specific with chat GPT. I need to make $1,000 extra a month. These are my current skills. How can I make money doing this? And how can I make money doing this online? So you're not in front of people if you don't want to do that. So or if you do want to be in front of people, be as specific as possible. How can I make money? How can I make money online? How can I make money digitally? What can I sell? Those types of things you want to start asking ChatGPT. You want to start watching YouTube videos. People dedicate their channels to showing people how to make extra income in various ways. This is the time that you're furloughed. Take this as this is not something that, of course, you plan for necessarily, but take this as an opportunity to work on some of these things that maybe when you were at work, you didn't have time to do. So I definitely want you to do that. I don't want you to panic. I don't want you to refinance your home because anything that you do when you go back and you can't afford that mortgage payment anymore, that becomes there's CBS came out with this article recently about the rise in foreclosures because a lot of people, either your income is changing. That's a big part of why people go into foreclosure, having changes in their income. But another reason is the expenses have gone up so much. Home insurance has gone up significantly. Taxes have gone up significantly. So while your principal and interest remain the same, a lot of people have had jumps in those areas and has made their homes somewhat unaffordable. And some people, if you allow, even though your home may become more expensive, a lot of people can't afford to rent. Even rent is going to be in a lot of places sometimes higher than that mortgage payment was. So you're kind of like, okay, I can't afford these increases, but I also can't afford to lose my home because the rent would be much higher in certain instances, depending on where you live. So I want to make sure that you are doing everything that you can during this time of furlough and uncertainty and that sort of thing, because it's not easy, but I don't want you to make big changes that you can't sustain long term. And I just want to say for unemployment, national unemployment is at 4.3%, but I also want to highlight Black unemployment. Black unemployment is at 7.5%, and that's up about 2 percentage points or so from January of this year. So especially for women as part of this, Black women as part of this population, a lot of us have or had government jobs, and that was a big part of some of that unemployment in that figure increasing. So you have to get out there. You have to make sure that you are, again, not fully dependent on other people. I know I used to be a teacher. I still can go back and teach if I needed to. Not only am I certified in business education, so I can teach that at, not, I don't have my doctorate, so I can't teach it at a university, but I can teach it up to a college level, like a 2-year or community college level. Also, I could do it in high school and middle school, of course, but I also have my certification in early childhood education. So from K to, 2 years of college, I could teach something, right? So that's like my backup if there's any time where I need to be employed or find employment outside of real estate, outside of YouTube and content, some of the things that I create. But the same way you may have your main job, you can do some other things. Get on social media, find out all the things that you watch. Those are things that you can actually do yourself. So get on social media, figure out use your time wisely, try to get some extra income. Even though it may seem a little bit daunting at first, I want you to take this as an opportunity to make sure that you are not, again, dependent on other people, 100% dependent on other people for income. Okay. Somebody said the universe is not on a budget. So there is abundance in out here, but we have to, get ready for it, prepare for it. AI has given a lot of people a lot of opportunities because you can create things faster, easier. So just make sure that you are aware of those things, you are locked in, you are educating yourself, but don't make any rash, like don't take any, please don't start doing cash out refinances, because at the end, because those payments are going to go up and you're going to owe that money, it may be, detrimental to you financially. If you have any questions or if you have some advice, you're on furlough, things that you've been doing during your furlough period, things that you did when you were unemployed, please share below. That can be helpful for other people. And I'm Shaheedah Hill, helping you confidently build wealth.